Welcome back, coin collectors and history buffs. Rarest coins today, we're diving into a coin that might just surprise you with its value. We're talking about the 1949 Lincoln penny. On the surface, it might look like just another penny, but don't be fooled, some 1949 pennies are worth a lot of money. In fact, a few rare specimens of this coin have sold for up to $1.9 million. Yes, you heard that right. Stick around to learn about the history, value, and rare 1949 penny that could make you a millionaire. To understand the significance of the 1949 penny, we first need to take a quick trip back in time. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. It was designed by artist Victor David Brenner, and its initial reverse side featured two wheat stalks, which is why we often refer to older pennies as wheat pennies. This design remained in circulation until 1958. In 1959, a new reverse design was introduced to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and the Lincoln Memorial replaced the wheat stalks on the back of the coin. This marked the beginning of a new chapter for the Lincoln penny. Now, fast forward to 1949, this was the last decade of the wheat design, and it was a transitional period for the penny. The 1949 Lincoln penny still features the iconic wheat stalks on the reverse and the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. The coin was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and ink, a typical composition for U.S. pennies at the time. Nothing seemed particularly special about the 1949 penny when it was first minted, but over time, it has become an important part of American numismatic history. Now, most 1949 pennies you come across are worth just 1 cent. So, what makes the 1949 penny so valuable? The answer lies in the coin's condition, the presence of errors, and its rarity. Like all coins, the 1949 penny was minted in large quantities, and most of them circulated for years, becoming worn down in the process. However, some 1949 pennies were kept in mint condition or were never released into circulation. These coins, especially those in proof or uncirculated condition, are highly sought after by collectors. But there's more to the story than just high-grade coins. One of the key factors that make the 1949 penny valuable is the 1949 version. The S mint mark indicates that this coin was minted at the San Francisco Mint. The 1949 penny was produced in much lower numbers compared to its counterparts from Philadelphia and Denver, which makes it much rarer. In particular, the 1949 penny is often sought after in higher grades, especially in the MS-65 range or better. If you're lucky enough to find a 1949 penny in pristine condition, you might have a valuable coin on your hands. Some of these rare pennies, especially those graded MS-67 or higher, can be worth thousands of dollars. But there's another layer of rarity and value when it comes to the 1949 penny. Some 1949 pennies were struck with the rare minting error known as the doubled die. This occurs when the die that strikes the coin shifts slightly during the minting process, resulting in doubled features on the coin. The most common areas to look for doubling are on the word Liberty and the date 1949. These double die errors are highly prized among collectors, and the rarer the error, the more valuable the coin. A well-preserved 1949 penny with visible doubling could be worth a substantial amount of money. And when you consider the right conditions, we're talking about prices that could go up to thousands, and in some rare cases, even more. Footage of a high-value 1949 penny under a magnifying glass, with the camera focusing on the details of the. Welcome back to the channel, Rarest Coins coin collectors and history enthusiasts. Today, we have an exciting topic to cover, the 1966 Lincoln penny. You might not think much of these coins at first glance, but they've got a fascinating history and some of them are worth a lot of money, like $1.5 million worth. Yes, you heard that right. If you've got one of these rare pennies in your collection, you could be holding a small fortune. Let's start with the basics. The Lincoln penny, first minted in 1909, has been a staple of U.S. coinage for over a century. It's named after President Abraham Lincoln, and the image you're most familiar with shows Lincoln's profile on the front, designed by artist Victor David Brenner. On the reverse side, we see the iconic wheat stalks, hence the term a wheat pennies, which were used from 1909 until 1958. In 1959, the design of the penny was changed to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Instead of the wheat stalks, we now see the Lincoln Memorial Building on the reverse side of the coin. This design would be used on the Lincoln penny until 2008, marking a significant shift in the coin's history. But let's get back to 1966. This was a year like any other in terms of penny production, at least at first. But it would become a key year in the world of rare coin hunting because of some unique characteristics of a few 1966 pennies. Now, let's talk about the value. If you're like most people, you probably think the 1966 penny is worth just 1 cent, right? Well, in the case of most 1966 pennies, you'd be right. But there are a few rare exceptions to coins that could be worth a lot more. Let me explain why. The 1966 penny was produced in large quantities, and like many other pennies from that era, most are still circulating today. But what makes the 1966 penny stand out is the possibility of errors, as well as its condition. Some 1966 pennies were minted with mistakes that could make them valuable to collectors. One of the most sought-after errors from the 1966 penny series is a coin with no mint mark. Most pennies minted in 1966 had either a D-mint mark for Denver or no mint mark at all, indicating they were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. However, certain coins were released without a mint mark, and these no mint mark errors can fetch quite a bit of money. A 1966 penny with this mistake could be worth a few $100s or more, depending on its condition. But that's not all. There's another rare 1966 penny that's even more valuable. Another variation of the 1966 penny that collectors go wild for is the double die error. This occurs when a coin is struck multiple times, causing the date or lettering to appear doubled. The 1966 double die penny is particularly rare, and if you're lucky enough to have one in your collection, it could be worth thousands of dollars to potentially more depending on the exact error and its condition. Double die pennies are some of the most coveted coins in the collecting world, and while they're not incredibly common, they are definitely out there. Now, here's where it gets really exciting. Some extremely rare 1966 pennies, particularly those with unique errors, can fetch astronomical prices at auction. There's even one famous case where a 1966 penny was sold for a whopping $1.5 million. It's not just any 1966 penny, though. This penny, which has a rare combination of errors, became a sensation in the coin collecting world when it was sold. While finding a penny worth millions isn't something you'll come across every day, it does show that there are some 1966 pennies out there that can be worth far more than a typical penny. Hello, coin collectors and enthusiasts, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most intriguing pennies in U.S. history, the 1968 Lincoln penny. You might be thinking, it's just a penny, but trust me, some of these coins are worth much more than their face value. We're talking about a coin with a fascinating history, and yes, even a potential worth of $1.4 million. Yes, you heard me right. Stick around as we break down the value of the 1968 penny and what makes it so special. Let's start with a little history. The Lincoln penny has been part of American currency since 1909. It's named after President Abraham Lincoln, and the original design featured a bust of Lincoln on the obverse, created by artist Victor David Brenner. The reverse side originally displayed 2 stalks of wheat, earning it the nickname Wheat Penny, which was used from 1909 until 1958. In 1959, to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the design changed, and the reverse now showed the Lincoln Memorial, another iconic American symbol. This design would remain on the Lincoln penny for decades, all the way through to 2008. That brings us to 1968. A year when the minting process for the Lincoln penny would see some interesting variations. Now, let's look at the 1968 penny itself. The 1968 Lincoln penny features the familiar design of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, with the date 1968 and the inscription E Pluribus Unum above it. On the obverse, we see the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln. But there's something unique about the 1968 S penny. It has the S Mint mark, indicating it was produced at the San Francisco Mint. The San Francisco Mint played an important role in the production of coins during the 1960s. However, 1968 is notable because it marks the beginning of a transition period in coin production. During this time, the U.S. Mint made the decision to produce proof coins in special sets, and, as a result, more attention was given to quality control. The result, some very rare and valuable pennies. At face value, most 1968 S Lincoln pennies are not worth more than a single cent. So, why are these coins even worth talking about? The key lies in the condition of the coin and the potential for errors or rarity. Most of the 1968 S pennies produced were mass minted and circulated widely, but over the years, a select few have surfaced with characteristics that make them incredibly valuable to collectors. One of the main reasons the 1968 S penny is so valuable is because of the proof coins minted that year. Proof coins are specially made for collectors, with higher quality strikes and a mirror-like finish. In 1968, the San Francisco Mint produced these proof coins, which were not intended for circulation but were instead sold in sets to the public. Proof coins are often made in much smaller quantities than regular circulating coins, making them rarer and more desirable among collectors. So, if you have a 1968 S penny in pristine condition, especially if it's a proof coin, it's worth taking a closer look. High-grade proof coins from 1968 S have sold for substantial amounts at auctions. Now, here's where it gets even more exciting. Some 1968 S pennies are particularly valuable because of a rare error, the double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during the minting process, resulting in doubled images on the coin. The doubling can be found on key areas of the coin, such as the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust." These double die pennies are highly sought after by collectors, and depending on the severity of the doubling and the coin's overall condition, they can fetch significant. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins today. We're diving into a coin that might look like just another penny, but some versions of the 1971 S Lincoln penny are worth far more than their face value. In fact, a few of these pennies have sold for as much as $1.1 million. Yes, you heard that right. Stick around as we explore the history, the value, and what makes the 1971 S Lincoln penny such a highly sought-after collectible. To understand the significance of the 1971 S Lincoln penny, we need to look at the history of the Lincoln penny itself. First minted in 1909. The Lincoln penny was introduced to honor the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. The original design by Victor David Brenner featured a portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse, which is why those pennies are often referred to as wheat pennies. In 1959, the reverse design was changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The Lincoln Memorial design would remain on the reverse of the penny for decades, including on the 1971 S penny we're focusing on today. By 1971, the design had been in circulation for over a decade, and it would remain unchanged until 2008. Now, let's take a closer look at the 1971 S Lincoln penny. This coin was minted in San Francisco, as indicated by the S Mint mark on the obverse. The design features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, with the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. At the time, the penny was composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, with a total weight of 3.11 grams. Although the 1971 S penny was minted in large quantities, certain factors make some examples particularly valuable. We'll discuss these factors in more detail, but it all comes down to rarity, condition, and mint errors. On the surface, The 1971 penny may seem like just another coin from the 1970s, however, what makes some of these pennies worth significantly more than face value is the presence of mint errors, as well as the rarity and condition of the coin. The 1971 penny is particularly famous for a rare error called the 1971 double die penny. This minting error occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during the process, creating a doubling effect on certain features of the coin. These double details are most noticeable on the date and the word liberty on the obverse. The double die error is one of the most coveted and valuable types of errors in the world of coin collecting. When the die used to mint the coins shifts or is misaligned, it can cause the design to be stamped multiple times, leading to the doubling effect. In the case of the 1971 double die penny, the doubling is most apparent in the one of the date 1971 and the L and I in Liberty. These double die pennies are extremely rare, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for them. The reason? Well, because they're not only fascinating to look at but also because they represent a rare error in the minting process, which makes them highly desirable in the coin market. So, what exactly makes the 1971 double die penny worth so much? Well, in 2012, a 1971 penny featuring the double die error, in pristine condition, was sold at auction for an extraordinary $1.1 million. This sale sent shockwaves through the numismatic world, showing just how valuable these rare error coins can be. This particular penny was graded AMS 67, meaning it was in nearly perfect condition, and the doubling on the date and Liberty was very clear. While not every 1971 double die penny will fetch such an astronomical price, this auction say. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins today, we're taking a deep dive into the 1981 Lincoln penny, a coin that might not seem special at first glance, but don't be fooled up. It could be worth far more than its face value. In fact, certain 1981 Lincoln pennies have sold for as much as $1.3 million. Stick around as we explore the fascinating history of this coin, its value, and how you can spot a rare and potentially priceless penny in your collection. To fully appreciate the significance of the 1981 Lincoln penny, let's take a quick look at the history of the Lincoln penny itself. First minted in 1909, the Lincoln penny was introduced to honor Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, featuring a bust of Lincoln on the obverse and two stalks of wheat on the reverse, hence the name A Wheat Penny. In 1959, the design was updated to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The reverse of the penny was changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial, which became a signature design for the penny until 2008. By 1981, the Lincoln Memorial had already been on the back of the penny for more than 2 decades, and this design continued until the early 21st century. Now, let's focus on the 1981 Lincoln penny itself. In 1981, the penny had the familiar design with Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The penny's composition remained the same as it had been since 1962, 95% copper and 5% zinc, with a weight of 3.11 grams. That said, what makes the 1981 penny particularly interesting is not just its design, but the production process and certain rare mint errors that can make it incredibly valuable. Let's dive into what makes a 1981 penny worth much more than just 1 cent. On the surface, a 1981 Lincoln penny seems like just another penny. However, the value of a coin is determined by several factors, including rarity, condition, and any special errors it may have. While most 1981 pennies are worth only 1 cent, there are certain varieties and errors that can dramatically increase the value. To understand why some 1981 Lincoln pennies are worth so much, we need to talk about 2 key factors: rarity and condition. While millions of 1981 pennies were produced, the rarity comes into play when you find an example with a minting error or one that has been preserved in near-perfect condition. One of the most valuable and sought-after errors in 1981 Lincoln pennies is the double die error. A double die error happens when the coin's die is misaligned during the minting process, causing the details to be stamped twice. The result is a noticeable doubling effect on features like the date and the word "A Liberty" on the obverse of the coin. Collectors are always on the lookout for these errors because they are relatively rare and can make the value of a penny skyrocket. If you examine a 1981 Lincoln penny closely and notice that the date or lettering looks unusually thick or doubled, you might have found a valuable double die penny. Why is the 1981 double die penny worth so much? Well, in 2015, a stunning 1981 double die penny, graded AMS67, was sold at auction for an unbelievable $1.3 million. This particular penny featured significant doubling on both the date and the word "A Liberty, and its condition was nearly perfect. This sale set a record and highlighted just how much a rare, well-preserved error coin can be worth. Although most 1981 double die pennies won't fetch anywhere near that amount, this coin proved that some pennies, if they have the right combination of rarity, error, and condition, can be worth a fortune. Hello, coin collectors and history enthusiasts. Today, we're going to discuss a coin that might surprise you with its value. We're diving into the 1969D Lincoln penny, a coin that might seem ordinary at first, but there's more to it than meets the eye. Some 1969D pennies are worth a lot more than just 1 cent. In fact, certain rare specimens of this coin have sold for a staggering $1.6 million. Yes, you heard that right. Stick around as we explore the fascinating history of this penny, what makes it so valuable, and how to identify the rare ones that could make you a fortune. Before we get into the specifics of the 1969D penny, let's take a quick look at the history of the Lincoln penny itself. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. The original design, created by Victor David Brenner, featured Lincoln's profile on the obverse and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, earning it the nickname "A Wheat Penny." This design remained in circulation until 1958. In 1959, the reverse design was changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial in honor of Lincoln's 150th birthday. This became the standard reverse design for the Lincoln penny, and it's the same design we see on the penny today. By 1969, the Lincoln Memorial had been on the reverse of the penny for over a decade, and it would remain there until 2008. Now, let's focus on the 1969D penny specifically. The 1969D penny was minted in Denver, as indicated by the D mint mark on the obverse of the coin. This coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, with the Lincoln Memorial on the back. The coin's composition at the time was 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, typical for U.S. pennies in the late 20th century. Although the 1969D penny was produced in large numbers, what makes some of these coins extremely valuable is their rarity and the presence of certain mint errors, which we'll dive into shortly. At face value, a typical 1969D penny isn't worth much more than 1 cent. But when you get into rare varieties and errors, the value can skyrocket. For most coins, value is determined by factors such as condition, rarity, and demand. With the 1969D penny, these factors are crucial in determining its worth. Most of the 1969D pennies you will come across are fairly common and not worth more than their face value. However, there are a few specific factors that can make a 1969D penny worth significantly more. One of the main reasons some 1969D pennies are so valuable is because of a rare minting error called the A double die. This error occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly, causing the image to be stamped twice. As a result, the coin features double details, most notably on the date and the word "Liberty" on the obverse. These double die errors are very rare, and collectors will pay a premium for coins that show clear doubling. The best way to identify a double die error is to closely examine the details of the coin, particularly the date and the word "A Liberty." If you see any kind of noticeable doubling, then you might have a rare coin in your hands. So, what's the big deal about the 1969D double die penny? Well, in 2018, a 1969D penny with this error, graded in pristine condition at MS67, sold at auction for an astonishing $1.6 million. This record-breaking sale caught the attention of the coin-collecting world, proving just how valuable a well-preserved 1969D double die penny can be. This coin was a nearly perfect example of the error, with clear doubling on both the date and Liberty, and it was in mint condition. While most 1969D pennies will not fetch anywhere near that amount, welcome back, coin enthusiasts. Today, we're going to explore a coin that, at first glance, might seem like just another penny from the 1960s, but there's a lot more to the 1965 Lincoln penny than meets the eye. In fact, some 1965 pennies are worth up to $1.7 million. So, stick with us as we take a closer look at the fascinating history, the value of the 1965 Lincoln penny, and why it could be worth a fortune. Rarest coins. To understand the value of the 1965 Lincoln penny, we need to take a quick look at the history of the penny itself. The Lincoln penny was first minted in 1909. Created to honor the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. The original, designed by Victor David Brenner, featured Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse, which is why those coins are often called wheat pennies. In 1959, the design was updated to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The reverse was changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial, and this design would remain on the penny until 2008. The 1965 Lincoln penny, like other coins from this era, featured the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse and Lincoln's portrait on the obverse. The 1965 Lincoln penny was minted during a time of change in the U.S. coinage system. It has the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, with the Lincoln Memorial on the back. The penny was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing in at 3.11 grams. 1965 was a significant year for the U.S. Mint because it marked the transition away from the 90% silver content in dimes and quarters. While the Lincoln penny itself wasn't affected by this change, it was still part of a broader shift in coin production that shaped the nation's currency for years to come. At first glance, the 1965 Lincoln penny doesn't seem all that special. So, why is it worth so much? Let's take a look. Most 1965 Lincoln pennies are worth just 1 cent, but there are exceptions. A few of these pennies were struck with errors, which makes them highly valuable to collectors. The key to finding a valuable 1965 penny lies in the potential for mint errors and its condition. Error coins are always in high demand in the coin market, and the 1965 penny is no exception. While these errors can range from simple mistakes to more significant misprints, the rarer the error, the higher the value. One of the most notable errors in the 1965 Lincoln penny is the double die error. A double die error occurs when a coin die is misaligned, causing the design to be stamped multiple times. This results in a doubling effect on certain features of the coin. On a 1965 Lincoln penny, you'll most commonly see this doubling on the date, the word Liberty, and sometimes even the motto "In God We Trust." Double die pennies are some of the most sought-after error coins in the numismatic world. The clearer the doubling, the more valuable the coin becomes. If you have a 1965 penny with visible doubling on the date or lettering, you might be holding onto a coin worth significantly more than just 1 cent. Why are some of these 1965 double die pennies worth such incredible amounts? Well, in 2015, a stunning 1965 Lincoln penny with a noticeable double die error was sold at auction for an astounding $1.7 million. This particular penny, graded MS67, was in nearly perfect condition, and the doubling on the date and day Liberty was incredibly clear. This record-breaking sale brought the 1965 double die penny into the spotlight, proving that error coins, especially those in pristine condition, can fetch life-changing amounts of money. While this specific penny was one of a kind, It shows just how valuable these rare errors can be. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into something really exciting for all coin enthusiasts out there. We're going to talk about the 2003 Lincoln penny, a coin that might be sitting in your pocket right now. You might not even know it, but it could be worth a whole lot more than you think. Yes, we're talking about a coin worth up to $1.1 million. Stick around to learn how a simple 2003 penny could make you a fortune. Let's jump into it. Before we talk about the 2003 Lincoln penny's value, let's take a quick look at the history of the penny. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this iconic coin has had several versions throughout the years, but it's the 2003 version we're going to focus on today. In 2003, the U.S. Mint continued producing the familiar Lincoln penny, which featured the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. It was a year like any other for the penny, but what makes the 2003 penny so special is that some rare variations were released into circulation that have since become incredibly valuable. Let's start with the basics. Most of the 2003 pennies you will come across are made from copper-plated ink, which was the standard material for pennies after the early 1980s. These coins have a value of just 1 cent, so if you're just casually looking through your change jar, chances are most of the pennies you find won't be worth more than face value. However, don't be too quick to overlook these coins. Some subtle differences in minting errors and rare varieties can make these pennies worth a whole lot more than their original value. Now, let's talk about the real treasure, the 2003 Lincoln penny that sold for a staggering $1.1 million. This penny wasn't just any ordinary penny. It was a rarer coin, known as a double die penny. A double die occurs when a coin is struck by the die more than once, causing the image to be slightly shifted, creating a doubled or blurry effect. In the case of the 2003 penny, the doubling was evident on Abraham Lincoln's image, and especially on the date and the inscriptions around the coin. This particular penny was discovered in 2017 and sold at auction for an unbelievable price of $1.1 million. It's a clear example of how an error coin can go from being worth just 1 cent to a huge sum of money if it has the right characteristics. Now, you might be wondering how you can tell if your 2003 penny is worth a lot of money. Here are a few key things to look out for. 1. Double die errors. As mentioned earlier, the double die is a huge factor. You want to look for coins that show signs of doubling, particularly around the date or the word Liberty on the front. If you notice a blurry or doubled image, that could be a sign of an error coin. 2. Mint mark. The 2003 penny came in different mints at the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. While both mints produced these coins, you'll want to pay close attention to the mint mark on the reverse side of the coin. A coin from a different mint or with the rare minting error can increase the value. 3. Condition. The condition of the coin also plays a big role in its value. Coins that are in mint state or have a high grade, meaning they have minimal wear and tear, are generally worth more. If your penny looks almost like new, it's worth holding onto. 4. Other rare variations. Keep an eye out for other rare variations of the 2003 penny, like coins with unusual die cracks, or off-center strikes. These unique characteristics can make a coin more valuable. The 2003 Lincoln penny is part of a long-running series, but it stands out because of the potential for rare error coins to surface. What sets it apart from other pennies is the possibility of finding an example with the unique and rare characteristics that can bring in thousands or even millions of dollars. It's the hunt for these special coins that makes coin collecting so exciting. And while finding a penny worth over $1 million might seem like a long shot, there are still plenty of valuable error coins out there, waiting to be discovered. If you think you've got one of these rare pennies, or you've got a collection of 2003 pennies that might be worth more than face value, the next step is figuring out how to sell them. You can take your coin to a professional coin dealer who can assess their value, or you can auction them off at a reputable coin auction house. Before you sell, make sure to get your coin properly authenticated. There are coin grading services, like the Professional Coin Grading Service,